Good afternoon. Thanks a lot, and thank you, dear participants. So let me first try and share my screen, whether it works, and then we will be able to be going slide by slide. Actually, the topic was meant to be the canine therapy during the war, and I know that a lot of participants try to deal with canine therapy and have already started to appreciate the effect of the dogs children. And sometimes that could be even not a live dog, but even a toy dog. Though, of course, a live dog is much better. But I've changed the title of the presentation a little bit. I call it Welfare of Animals as an integral component of human to people interaction, human to animal interaction, because I want to convey some information on what we should do and what we should not do. For people, we are trying to give some help to children, other children with their dog, not to do harm to the dog, to the child, or to themselves, because this is a very important and highly responsible and useful work. So, Natalia has already introduced me, but let me tell a couple of words about me. I live in the city of Chernihiv, and I'm also a participant of a team of Four Paws, human to animal interaction. You saw me in the previous picture with the dog I saved, Lisa, and in Chernihiv we are implementing the community engagement project, and I've been appointed deputy head or acting head of one of the volunteer organizations in Chernihiv, and I'm proud of the fact that I had a chance to become one of the co-founders of the Ukrainian Association of Animal Protectors, because I think that the most important thing in our work is partnership. I hope that I'm not that fast and the interpreters can interpret me. Let me tell a couple of words about my background. And, I belong to active animal protection projects, and then I switched to canine therapy. To tell the truth, canine therapy made me go and get official degree in psychology, because I want to develop this direction in Ukraine. This is my dog, Alisa. She's 2 years old now, and a year ago she was taken from the street. She had her leg broken. And in fact, I just took it as a puppy. She was 5 months old. We were afraid of giving her to the shelter because, puppies can get some infection, and that could be lethal. That's why I took her for a period of time for the rehabilitation to my home. And then my idea was that I would actually accommodate her somewhere. But you should never tell about your plans before. And I didn't have a dog for canine therapy as such. So maybe I wanted very much to have a dog like that. And that's probably why Alisa got to me. And I saw that Alisa likes to interact with children. She likes to learn different commands. And, it was really so interesting when you give her a ball, you throw a ball, you don't train her, you don't teach her, but she brings the ball to you, and she's looking for some communication with you, even with her eyes. So I guess the first experience of Alisa's canine therapy was the fact that even when her leg was broken, so one of my relatives, a child, was afraid of dogs. And she had some bad accidents with the dog, but she liked playing hospital. And so to make her fear dogs less, I suggested that she could come and help me take care of Alisa. She could become a medical nurse or a doctor for this dog. So she was happy about that. She took the syringe, and we worked with the leg, which she gave some recommendations as to how we could do and what we could do. And in that way, her level of fear of dogs reduced, and of importance the fact that she was providing help to the needy, to somebody who was weaker, and she felt stronger as a result of that. She felt that she was controlling the situation, because quite often when we speak about moral phobias, we have a situation when a child or an adult doesn't have control over the situation and doesn't know how to behave. And normally in Europe, it is not recommended to use canine therapy while treating zoophobias. You can use it only in case you have psychological background and when you realize how this could be done, and very, very gradually. You don't need just to give a puppy to a child who who would have a panic attack. That would be stressful. That must be done gradually. But if we tell a lot, if we give a lot of good examples, if we explain how a child could help the dog, puppy, you will really get great results. And let me go over to my personal experience. When I got the dog, my personal dog, I was 25 years old, and I started reconsidering some of those things. And at that period of time, I also met some people who were studying zoo protection or psychology, and I got a book which was called Protectors or Defenders of the Heart. And of interest was the fact that they were writing about altruism there. We were to help, not in a selfish way, for no remuneration, but in fact, altruism is one of the protective mechanisms of our mind. And in a positive sense, it lies in the fact that we can give something and we can also derive pleasure from being beneficial for someone. But quite often, behind altruism, there stands some unconscious, unrealized needs to be the need for self-fulfillment. And it so happened that my path to zoological protection was that I had the need for protection. My dog got lost, just on a temporary basis, but at that time, the municipal company of our city was just killing the dogs, and I was afraid because I understood by the circumstances, it was 2008, that if my dog was found in the street, he would just be killed there, and I would never have an opportunity to find him. And back then, I got an idea that, the dog got lost for half an hour, but over that half an hour, I realized quite a lot of things for myself. I realized that I want to have a place for me to be able to find the dog. There must be some space where other dogs should get the necessary care, and a number of dogs in the street could be reduced in a human way and not just through killing with deathly, the way it was done in Chernivtsi. So I wrote one project and we built a shelter in Chernivtsi. We arranged spaying of several thousand dogs in 2015, 2016. And now we have a municipal city, which is the center of spaying of animals in Chernivtsi. And I'm extremely happy that we may state that over the period of 7 years, thanks to a lot of activities, the number of dogs in the streets has been reduced by about 50%. This is the figure that we could show everyone who claims that this method is inefficient. But we face a different problem. No matter how much you do spaying, this will not solve the problem alone. And if you don't change the attitude of people, no positive effect will come. And if you agree, please put a plus in the chat. I will be happy about that. I can see that there are some questions, and I will give the answer definitely. So thank you for your pluses.
що наступним проектом, який мені вдалося написати і реалізувати,
And it so happened that the next project I meant to implement was the project related to the canine therapy development in Ukraine in that border area of Ukraine, in on the border of Ukraine and Belarus. So this was more of a program aimed to support people with disabilities. But thanks to this program, we also got a chance to have a training for experts who are providing help to people with disabilities, who are dog trainers, technologists from 2 regions of Ukraine and 3 regions of Belarus. And we translated the European standards on canine therapy. So if you're interested, I could give you the electronic format of this document. And this project became a pilot project. You know, that's when a stone is thrown into the water and there are circles coming there. And you can see that the circles are going wider and wider. So what you do is disseminate it further on, and people get interested and start developing this. And this gives good, positive results, and the attitude to animals is changing. I can see Irina has raised her hand, but let me finish with the presentation and then we could have a full talk. So now I would like to tell you what canine therapy actually is. This is one of the types of animal-assisted interventions using specially trained dogs, and the aim of it is to improve psychological, emotional condition of people, to improve motivation to studies and social rehabilitation of people with specific needs. As far as the term AI is concerned, so normally our animal-assisted interaction, we use horses, this is hypnotherapy, and also some farm animals are used, but in Ukraine this direction is not yet developed. If we speak about the types of canine therapy which are already available in Ukraine, you need to know how you can show yourself, how you can get self-fulfilled in this. For example, there could be some visits with dogs. To have visits with dogs following European standards, you need to have certain information about the dog, about the way it will happen. And the objective of those visits with dogs is that you come, and thanks to those visits, short visits, you improve the psycho-emotional condition of people, and you keep telling about dogs, you can tell about something else, you can start some activities. And I work with my dog at the level of visits. Along with the fact that I have a psychological background, it so happened that I specialize also in visits with dogs because I consider it to be the most efficient way of helping people who have come, in particular children who have been affected by the war. And in Significant, we have quite a lot of children like that because we have a lot of shelters and a lot of IDPs because the area is overstayed. So these children sometimes bring with them the memories of the awful tragic events, and when you communicate with them, they can tell you a lot of things that could be frustrating for you. When you come with the dog, and you can actually do the reading. The child could be performing different tasks which you invent. You can take some games, you can discuss a book, you just have a talk on different topics, so you could have some active games, thanks to which children get certain points which they could exchange for food for dogs. And the dog, Alisa in this case, performs the commands, and as a remuneration, she gets food. But that is what happens with my dog. Your dog could interact with children in a different way, but you should remember that should be stress-free. And I will tell you how to take care of this. So when I come to on a visit, I take a dog, but you may also take a partner with you because it's really difficult to be watching the dog group and to have this attention. So I would recommend that if you want to have a visit with a dog to a group of children, you'd better just have a walk with the dog, to get acquainted with this place, with the staff, to communicate with the staff of the institution, to tell them what kind of visit you're going to pay, what assistance you will need from them, what place do you need. If you are placed in a corridor where 10 people are going here and there, you will not have a good fashion. The dog will be distracted, children will be distracted. The other point is that the dog should have the basic commands, know the basic commands for obeying, know his or her place, have the map with which you come, you place it, and nobody else can enter this mat. And at any point of time, the dog is allowed to go there to the mat. When we start classes with children, we always discuss the rules at the very beginning. We discuss them, we may even write these rules, and sometimes maybe children will themselves suggest certain rules of behavior to you. But the rule is that nobody is going to pet the dog if there is no permission for that. Because, when you come with the dog and 10 children want to pet the dog will just be afraid and may start barking. Even if generally this dog responds very well to such things. Another type of canine therapy that could also be combined with visits is trainings with dogs. It could be a reading of book reading with the dog, or this is when a dog becomes a component of the learning process, and the dog is just motivating children to perform certain commands. If you have any questions concerning the visits, you may write these questions in the chat, by the way. Also, the dog may bring something or choose something, because it's one thing when we come and give the tasks, and it's a different situation when a dog brings in the basket or shows the paw some task. The dog wants the child to perform. For a child, it's much more interesting and much more motivating. And let me also tell about this process of reading with dogs. In Chernivtsi, we have it. At the level of Chernivtsi Regional Library, we do this, and it's important that within this process, when a child is reading, nobody is correcting the child. The dog never assesses. The dog is just playing side by side with you. And when a child is reading aloud and is just supported, the child feels more confident, comfortable. It becomes much easier for the child to read, even if she or he is reading just by syllables or by letters. Just allow the child and this dog to stay together, for the dog to listen the way it is happening. But how do you do this? And there are some tricks for that. If you want the dog to be listening to the child, you can place the dog in front of the child, and you can stand at the back and show some commands to the dog, or showing the remuneration, the reward the dog gets if it stays in the place. And at any point, I can see that my internet is bad. Sorry for that, but I can see that when the child stops looking at the book, he or she will see that the dog is looking at her. So she will be motivated by this. And here is another type of canine therapy, which is direct therapy with the dog, which is used in the rehabilitation institutions and which could also be used by psychologists in their work. And I would also like to say that there is one very bad stereotype that dogs can treat PTSD. I think that a lot of people are going to kind of abuse this therapy, but the dog cannot actually treat. Only an expert can treat it. And only an expert is allowed to make some interventions, while the dog will just be staying side by side with you and to act as a motivator for doing something. And in this situation, we can see that a girl wants actually to place the necklace, and this is development of small motoric skills, and overcoming of the fear of communicating with the dog. So movement coordination is involved here because there is a spoon and you can get the food into the spoon and use different trajectories for giving this food to the dog. So this is one of the therapies which could be conducted only by a person with psychological background or medical background, which really helps and allows to make those interventions at this level. If we speak about learning with a dog, so this must be done by a person with uh, pedagogical education. So what do you do if you don't have this background but you want to join in the process? This means that you have to work together with with an expert who is doing this and who is explaining what needs to be done. You tell him how this could be done, how much time that session will last, and what is the final goal. And then you control the dog, and an expert is already working with the child or with an adult. And this is a very efficient way of working because it's really difficult to have the split attention and to keep several things in your attention at the same time. And here is one more thing. Here's the question. What do you think in this picture? A dog. Is a dog an instrument or a partner? A tool or a partner? Partner, I can say one answer.
Maybe in English somebody can write.
You can even write this in English. Why do we have a question like this? There will be no other answer, Natalia writes. Yes, that's true, because here we have people who love animals. So we need to realize that thanks to our post-Soviet experience, in scientific literature telling about canine therapy, zoo therapy, even dolphins are sometimes engaged here. So they often write in scientific literature that animals are a tool for achieving a certain goal towards improvement of human health. But at the same time, and I actually addressed this while looking at the information for preparing the canine therapy project, because back then I didn't have access to English language sources, and the notion of canine therapy or canine therapy was not available. It was difficult to find it, and you can find it only as the animal intervention. And when I show you later the pictures, which I found in Russian, the canine therapy, you understand why I'm asking this question. Yes, the dog is our partner. And within this process, we should be taking care of our partner. Because if the dog feels bad or is made to do what he or she doesn't like, nothing good will come out of that. Because on the one hand, the partner will stop trusting us, and trust is one of the most important elements of the connection between humans and animals. The more the dog trusts you, the higher is this link between you. The closer is this link. But if you use the dog as a tool, this will not happen. And we are moving towards the two basic principles of interaction of people with dogs. In particular, the White Book organization that has developed special recommendations, or rather the organization which has developed this White Book claims that any interaction between humans and animals should be following two rules, the One Health and joint welfare principles. I know that one of the speakers was telling about One Health principle. That's why I will probably not focus on it. And probably you know what this principle is all about. In the White Book, which, by the way, has been translated into Ukrainian and You can also find it on the website of Hire in Ukrainian. Again, it mentions two principles. The one health principle lies in the fact that when we take any activities in animal-assisted interaction, for example, canine therapy, none of the participants should have health condition improved as a result of aggravation of the health condition of the other participant. And this is really important, which means that if a child is riding a horse, there shouldn't be a child that will do harm to the horse. Or, sometimes children are placed on dogs, and dogs are treated as horses for the child. So you cannot do this, of course. And there is also the principle of common welfare, which means that for two participants of AAI, those for a dog and for a human, for both of them, we ensure the principle of welfare. So let's first look at the One Health concept. It also lies in the fact that the health condition of humans and animals and the environment are interrelated. And one factor always affects the other two. And if we speak about the context of canine therapy, we should bear in mind in what conditions we are having our sessions. You will agree, I guess, that if you come with a child to a dirty walled basement with a dog, there will be no special joy for anyone from this session. But if you have this session in the open air, or if you have it in a nice room, the effect will be absolutely different. So even this factor can affect the successfulness of your session. How are we going to assess that the welfare of animals during the session is achieved? And here we can recall about the 5 freedoms or 5 liberties principle. This is also written in the European Convention. And even our first session with children can be held. And by the way, we are going to have the World Animal Day on the 4th of October. So you can have this first class with the children to discuss what they understand by these things and how these 5 liberties can be achieved. This is the freedom from hunger and thirst. And if we speak about canine therapy, please, you can take the bottle or with the water and the bell with you all the time for the dog to be able to have some water during the session. The dog should not be absolutely hungry because the dog will be just looking at the food you're showing, and there will be a lot of saliva, and children sometimes are disgusted about that. So food should be good. If we speak about freedom from discomfort, so if the dog feels discomfortable, dogs respond to some bad smell. Or, for example, my Alisa is afraid of metal floor, so I'm trying to avoid such places. But also we can say here that there is also freedom from pain, traumas, and diseases, and canine dogs or dogs used for canine therapy should be healthy, not to spread any diseases, not to have any pain and ache. And your task is to follow that no traumas, no injuries are inflicted, because sometimes people are not careful enough. So you need to discuss the things that could probably lead to traumas, and you should think about prevention. Also, you have the freedom of natural behavior and freedom from fear and stress. And we have to pay a lot of attention to stress. Why? Just think about yourself. If you feel disgusted about something, if you are irritated by someone, then you get different physiological feelings. the stress level becomes high, and finally you just start shouting at someone. The same happens to a dog, but unlike humans, the dog cannot tell about this. Dogs. Well, probably I will have a question. You please answer in chat. What do you think? How do we people get and transfer information to each other? Using which system of ours do we transfer information? We have the visual system, the kinesthetic system. Well, and smelling skill also is included into kinesthetics, right? Visual, through gestures. If you close your ears now, you will not get information from me. The only thing you will get will be visual. But the most significant portion of information is what we get through our ears. So if I'm disgusted about something, I can tell this. Well, I can show it by gestures, but most people will still use words, using the audio system for communication with each other. Somebody has written that about the dog, this is visual system. Dogs are using visual system of communication. They are showing a lot with their body. And in particular, they are showing a lot of things that help us understand that the dog feels disgusted, not pleased with something. The dog is scared. So, if we have a look at the dog, and the dog may give some signals, and also there will be visual signals of stress. And I'd like to recommend you to find this picture in the on the internet. It is translated into Russian. There could be also some other pictures. And you can have a very interesting game on the basis of this picture with children. You can just print out only the pictures and remove the inscriptions. And the task of the child will be to show to a group, to point actually to how the dog behaves and how a person with the same level of emotions will behave. And then we will be able to explain a lot of different things. There are really some stress signals, the body positions that are not always interpreted in the right way. And I think that this is also one of the basic things we need to have when we speak with children about their safe treatment. It so happens that dogs bite children, but there may be different situations when the child feels uncomfortable. And we can show it by the picture how the dog feels. And then we can explain quite a lot. Unfortunately, the internet connection seems to be bad with the speaker. So you can see one of the pictures where the dog is licking the nose. So what do you think? What does this show you? It is written in English, actually. We have got the inscription. So while licking the nose, it may also mean that the dog is stressed. It would be one of the signs that the dog is nervous. And when a dog scratches a lot, when we are nervous, we also start scratching some parts of our body. So this is also one of the signals, one of the symptoms. This means that the person is trying to remove the stress, but there must be something that has led to this stress. And this information is also important for those who work in shelters, for volunteers, because it's then easier for them to understand the dog's behavior. There are also some other symptoms. And in the bottom, there is a picture. Children misinterpret when the dog is sitting with her back to us. What do you think? What does it mean? Just write in chat. What do you think? What does this picture mean when the dog is seated with his back to us? Offended, insulted. Yes, that's quite often the answer given by children at our classes. But in fact, the dog with his back turned to you shows us the signal of reconciliation. And not exactly the sign of trust. The sign of trust is when the dog comes and asks you to scratch his belly. But when the back is turned to you, the dog shows that I respect you, I don't want to have any conflict with you. And quite often we have a situation when a dog was wrong with something, did something bad, and the owner comes and starts quarreling, scolding. But the dog first just becomes smaller, trying to go into himself, and then turns the back to the owner. And the owner thinks that the dog is ignoring you, or the dog has got offended. But this is misinterpretation. And that may lead to the bite because the dog has already sent some signals that the dog is ready to reconcile, but the owner keeps scolding the dog, and the dog is now ready to protect himself because of the fear. That's why we need to explain some of these controversial issues. What do you think? What is the emotion of the child? And does the child like that the dog is trying to interact with the child? She doesn't like it, of course. And a lot of children, a lot of parents are afraid of such behavior, and it so happens quite often that when somebody with a dog who loves children, who wants to interact with children, is just passing along, and the owner says, don't be afraid, my dog loves children, but the child feels discomfort and fear. And what is the difference between the first picture and this picture? What does the dog feel in this situation? Or who in this picture feels discomfort or any other emotions? You can see some of you have written that the child is showing love for the dog. It's true. And in the previous picture, the dog was showing love for the child. So some of this love, extra love, excess of love could actually be discomfortable for the other partner. So if we realize that the child got scared because the child has turned with his back, and she's trying to hide himself, or to close the eyes and somehow get more distance from this communication. But in this situation, the dog doesn't have a chance to leave. But can you see the ears of the dog, their position? Can you see the eyes of the dog? Because not in the normal condition, the eyeballs are almost always brown, but in this situation you can see that these are the eyes which already show different emotions. You can see the black eyeball, and the white part becomes larger. Yes, the dog shows this, is trying to leave. And the position of the ears shows that the dog would like to leave. And if the picture would be were better, we would see that the dog has got the tense muscles. And so there are some things that show that it's discomfortable, that the dog is in a stressful condition, and that is also a signal of reconciliation, like don't do this, but doesn't show any aggression. I would advise you to read the book Coming Signal by Nurita Gas. And there you will learn more for yourselves about the signals of reconciliation. And sometimes you want to lean to the dog, but the dog feels comfortable only with the touches of the owner. We don't like when somebody touches us, but we don't allow this to happen. And the same happens to dogs and cats, and we need to remember this. Of course, there are some dogs who like communication, like other children, like touches, but we need to really watch that this is true and not that we just imagine that this is that way. So let me show you another picture, which you could also be showing children in case you have classes with them, in case you have those sessions with them. You can see how the dog interacts when there are some touches, not allowed touches, and how you could give food to the dog in the correct way. You should tell the children about this, how to do this correctly. And this is not canine therapy. These are some pictures which I saw on the Russian part of the internet. That's the way they imagine what canine therapy is. The child is staying on the dog is licking, you can see the dog's eyes, you can see the ears, but everybody is happy and they think that it's fine. So I would like to warn you, don't do this. Don't do the things that are a mistake. We are all the time learning something new, and we are ready to share the knowledge that we have gained. But we always learn by mistakes. Here is another situation I mentioned, that's when a dog is used as a pony, as a horse. So this is the violation of the principle of One Health. And even such a nice and perfect picture also shows that the dog doesn't feel comfortable with that, because the dog has turned the head to the side, the breathing is heavy, and the ears are going down. So for us to understand whether our dog feels fine, we need to have some testing in terms of being fit for canine therapy, and there is the international protocol for this. Last year, we introduced this protocol in Ukraine and got impressive results even from international trainers, because half of the dogs were stray dogs. So for them, communication with people was not a stress at all. And here, I should probably discuss what is necessary for the development of canine therapy in Ukraine. So what do I see as for now? It's really important for us to lay down the principles of One Health and common welfare in our legislation as the key principles for those therapy for humans, because only in that way we could really tell whether these sessions are of any benefit or not. And let me go over to my contact data. So in case you're interested, you can write. I will always be happy to cooperate, so please feel free to contact me or to ask to answer your questions, but we have only 3 minutes, as I can see. Thank you, Antonina. Yes, you are precisely within the timeline. We already have got several questions, and I think that we will just have one question, and all the other questions will be later. So there is a question about the breeds of dogs that you can involve, any breeds. Will there be any training courses for canine therapists? Yes, Polish people will have a training starting with the 6th of October, so please write to me and I will engage you in the group for you to see the way it's happening, and this will be an online course. Is it possible to get the status in our country? Not yet, because so far we don't have the legalization. And though we have online courses with, well, in Ukraine we don't have any courses like this, but there is the ICOFA community, there are Polish colleagues where you can actually have the training in Polish or in English. In Polish language it will be rather easy for you, I think. But for you to keep working with this, you need to also get certified. To have a test whether you can really conduct a session with a proper level of interaction and proper level of interest.